This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, I'm Alex. This is the Ramble, and we go until midnight tonight from the East Coast of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to do, we introduce you to Larry Bubbles Brown. Yes, his real name is Bubbles.
Yes, yes, I should legally change.
I was going to ask you about that. You know, do you think of yourself, like, for instance, my real name is Bennett Schwarzman, right? And if somebody said Bennett, I guess I would respond. But what do you respond better to? Hey, Bubs, or Larry?
Everyone called me Bub, yeah, so I guess it's that. I never liked Bubbles, but Bub is kind of cool. So.
You never liked Bubbles?
Yeah, it sounds.
Why?
It just sounds like a stripper or something, you know?
Yeah, sounds like just like a stripper. Yeah, yeah.
Sounds a little hacky, dude, to have a nickname as a performer. I don't know.
Yeah, well, as we say, we've told the story before. He got his name Bubbles from Paula Poundstone.
Paula Poundstone, yeah.
Who just started calling you Bubbles because you wanted to go to the hot tub.
The hot tub, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I had a horrifying anniversary this past week. Was the 42nd year that I saw my first live comedy show, The Punchline.
47 years.
42
years. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Do you wake up? I got to say something, folks. You know, I guess this program only appeals to older people because really everything we reference is about getting old. But when you look back at 42 years, didn't it just kind of, I mean, I look at mine.
By, yeah.
Well, it went by, but if I look at it in the long run, it went by slowly. If I look back at it in the short run, it's fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other words, I can go back now to, let's say, what I was doing when I was 29, which was I was here in New York City. I just started my first job at WMCA. It was a big deal. I was in New York. But I think about the whole process of all the things I was involved in, all the things that I did during that period of time, and it seems like a lot of stuff, you know, like going to Woodstock as an example. You know, how did I get up there? You know, I guess I drove. Yeah, I drove. I stayed overnight somewhere. I can't remember, somebody's house.
Really?
Yeah,
wow. And
then I got onto the property by going in the back way and going to the press tent. And I drove my car right onto the property at Woodstock. But I think about all of that, and I think about having done it, and it really kind of, I don't know, it just seems like, did I do all that? Did I get all that? You know, and then I go up to this place, and I went to that place. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, and it seems exhausting.
Your life seems exhausting. Especially now because I'm kind of housebound for the most part. You know, I don't have adventures anymore. But then again, who can have an adventure during COVID, you know?
The thought of doing all that stuff now just would kill us.
No, I mean, I don't mind adventures. I mean, I would love, you know, I mean, our big last adventure was 10 years ago when we went to China. You know, and I can talk about that endlessly. But I just, you know, I used to always, my whole thing was I used to bring whatever I did out in the street into the studio. You know, guess what I did yesterday? Oh, I had this problem at Costco. I had this thing that happened to me, blah, 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 blah. I don't have that anymore. What do I say? Gee, I went to the living room today. Wow. There's a lot going on in the living room. The TV set was on, and the stationary bike is still stationary. You know, so it's just, I don't know. It just goes by in a weird kind of way. And then I wake up every morning and I'm on this drug called pregabalin, which is Lyrica, which is for my neuropathy, which a lot of you are going to get, folks, so get ready for it. You know, and it makes me loopy, and I'm loopy right now. So if I sound like I'm talking in circles, please stop me. But when you look back on your life, I mean, what do you see? I mean, you see, you look at a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of minutia there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and imagine how much we forget.
Well, I mean, it just that we did things, and they weren't exhausting, but they were complex. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. It's probably the drug talking.
The drug talking.
You know, I mean, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, for instance, let's just talk about it. The time you did Letterman. I mean, you remember traveling to New York and staying at a hotel and blah, 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 right?
I do. The first time was, I remember flying back there on, it was a big 747. It was United.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting next to some businessman. He said, "What are you doing in New York?" I said, "I'm doing Letterman." I don't think he believed me. And then I got bumped, so I'm sure he thought, "Oh, but that guy was totally lying." So I do remember that. I remember.
You don't say to somebody, "I'm doing Letterman," do you? Because they might think you're a male hooker.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
That is funny. You think about that. I think David Feldman gave me a ride to the airport. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed at the Berkshire. Is it the Berkshire Omni?
Yeah, there's a Berkshire Omni. Yeah.
That was a hotel Letterman put everybody up at. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And then, how do you remember the whole experience of being there and waiting to go on? And
I do. I remember I couldn't fall asleep, and I'd been up for like 36. I got bumped the first time, so which is good. I just couldn't fall asleep, and I was loopy, so I was glad I got bumped. And we'll have you back. So they flew me back to San Francisco. Then I went back 6 weeks later and did it. But it is funny.
Oh, bumped the first time.
Though, because I do remember the hotel. I remember going over to NBC.
So you had to go through that whole process twice.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
Now, the second time, did you get enough sleep?
I slept. I took a Valium, yeah.
Oh, great. Doing your act on Valium. Yeah.
And then I remember going to NBC, and people were lined up for the Letterman show, and I started going down the line and say, "Hey, I'm going to be on the show tonight. It was my first time. Be kind." And I was working the crowd.
Were you really working the crowd? Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, yeah. And they were kind.
I was so afraid. People used to bomb on that show. I was just so terrified I was going to bomb.
Well, we had a friend who bombed on that show.
Yes.
It bombed terribly. And he's a good comic, and he does the show occasionally. Will Durst.
Mm-hmm.
Durst's set was just, I don't know. What happened was, I think he got advice from the producer, which I think at the time was Bob Morton. And Morty told him, "Don't do this, but do that," blah, blah, blah. And so he came out and did what Morty told him to do, and it bombed. Just bombed. And I felt so bad for Will, because that was a place you don't want to bomb. This is your big shot. And, he was never asked back.
Right, and it was a lot of comics did bomb on there.
Yeah.
I think Judy Tenuta had a terrible bomb, and she was very funny. But...
Oh, really? Did they ever have her back? They must have.
No.
No, really? Not? No? Where's Judy Tenuta these days?
I don't know. She was huge for a while.
They
all disappear.
Wasn't one of her claims to fame is that she was Emo Phillips' girlfriend?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. which I got to tell people, I don't know if people remember Emo Phillips because he's kind of disappeared from view. But Emo, to begin with, was one of the funniest comics I ever saw. I mean, would you agree? I mean, intelligent comedy.
Yeah, he was on the verge of becoming big in the 80s. So.
Well, he kind of made it, and his what it was is you heard him and you went, this guy can't be funny. He's doing some kind of character here, and I didn't like character comics that much, although Goldthwait I loved, and I guess most comics on stage are a character. I mean, you're a character on stage, right?
Kind of. Just I'm kind of myself, which might be a character. I don't know.
Well, anyway, I mean, Emo was this, talked really funny and he's strange, but if you listen to the comedy, it was so intelligent. I remember one line of his that just absolutely laid me on the floor, and that was, he said, what was it about glass and sand? He said, what is it? Bottles don't like the beach because God, I can't remember now. See, I mean, that's how screwed I am. But the joke had to do basically with the fact that glass was made from sand, and he said, why is the sand blah blah blah? He said maybe I think something like the sand is envious of the bottle or something like that. And I went, wow, that's one of the most intelligent jokes I've ever heard in my life. Yeah,
this whole act was jokes that were that good.
Yeah, they were really brainy, smart, and I'm trying to remember what that joke was now. See, here I go. I say, I'm going to tell you the joke, and then I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to know the joke now.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a great line, and I said to myself, this guy is really smart. This guy is really brainy. And then I would sit down with him sometimes when we were backstage at a club, or I wound up, I think, at a party one night with him, completely out of character, and just one of the most intelligent people that I've ever had a conversation with.
Really?
Yeah. Just amazing. But he brought that to the act, but you had to listen for it, Anyway, he's still around.
Right before the pandemic, he was playing in the Bay Area, so he's
still really? Oh, okay. Because I mean, he was very good. And who was that guy that was? He was in Reservoir Dogs. He was the radio guy, the guy on the air. You never see him.
Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright. What happened to Stephen Wright? Stephen Wright was also that was the most difficult act I've ever seen to do. I mean, it was one-liner after another.
None of them connected to anything.
None of them connected to each other. Just nothing but one line. It's like he sat down, wrote a bunch of jokes on a pad, and just said, I will read these in a row. I don't care if they have any relationship to the joke that was.
Well, that's why he said he'd walk from one corner of the stage to another. He said he was trying to remember the next joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know they're so hard to remember them all, so he had that problem too.
But he was very funny because he was doing one joke after another, and every one of them landed.
Oh, great jokes, yeah.
Every one of them landed. And I guess in his act, he had an interesting way of doing it that allowed him to just say, okay, well, that joke doesn't work. Throw it out. So that he had nothing but gold that he was reciting when he got on stage after times of, oh, there goes my watch. No, Jack Bishop called me. Anyway,
hey, what's going on?
Wait a minute, I'll call you later. Bye. Anyway, I don't know what that was all about. My watch goes off now. You don't understand that, I know, but my watch goes off and has phone calls on it and so on. But Stephen Wright was just brilliant too. I mean, but these are comics who came and went, kind of. I mean, Wright had a big following at one time,
he still tours. He can fill out a big theater, so he definitely has a following.
He can. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm happy.
I think what I'd heard was when he did the Tonight Show and made a big splash that no one in TV knew what to do with him. They were trying to get him a show and everything, and we're not sure what we're going to do.
And he had that. He looked weird. You know, he had the hair thing and
the hair and the weird voice.
Yeah,
very funny.
Yeah, what do you do? A show called Here's Steven? You know, I mean, that's amazing. But there's a lot of comedians that were really good, who just they didn't make it for some reason. When we talk about making it, you know what making it is? Define making it, Larry.
Making it would be, well, in my case, I think I made it because I made a living at it. But making it would be kind of being a household name, I guess.
A household name, but basically what you got to do in order to do that is get a TV show.
Yeah, you got to have your own show.
You got to have your own
show. Do
show.
a bunch of movies.
Yeah, or do movies, one or the other. But you've got to go to that. So really, what you're doing is you're getting out of the very thing that got you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you're going to make it big. I mean, for instance, we take a guy like the guy that just died. Oh man, my mind today is just screwed.
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget. See, I go. What I should do, Bubbles, is have you move to New York and be with me at all times. And when I can't remember a name,
I'll be like a Google assistant.
You'll be Google Larry. Yeah, but anyway, so Saget. Really got his fame from the TV shows, not from his act.
Of course, yeah.
And yet, when he died, everybody said he was one of the greatest acts I ever saw. You know, he was terrific. He was incredible. And so you go to TV, and that's what people know you for. You know, America's Dad. I think when he died, they said, America's Dad has died. I thought that was Bill Cosby, but until we found out he was drugging all those women, he was America's dad. Now he's America's perverted uncle. But it was, I mean, when you do TV, it kind of, there's a spoil factor there, you know? The kind of, they typify you to that role they saw you in. Because that's the only thing they know you for. Seinfeld.
Yeah, I think most comics are doing comedy to get to something bigger than that. Like Steve Martin, he never did stand up after being the biggest comic probably ever. So.
Right. Well, you know what I heard that he said after the third. He said I had an hour that I did, and then I did that and I created a second hour. By the time I got to the third hour, I found I was just repeating myself and decided to quit stand-up. Because
he said these comics that write an hour every year. He said he doesn't think that's possible. He said most comics, the best, have 2 to 3 hours, and then you're doing the same things over and over.
Yeah, but I mean that's the big problem right there. The problem is that you've used all to begin with. When you do TV, you are literally selling your material. I'm not saying selling it to an audience. You're selling it, period. That's it. You can't do that again because everybody's seen that. So did you find when you did your set on Letterman, you were going to do material that you pretty well realized maybe you can't ever do again?
I thought about that, but then I kept doing it because nobody comes out to see me anyway.
Well, a lot of times, Bobby Slayton used to say to me, I keep trying to come up with new material. I don't want to keep doing the same material in clubs all the time. And I said to him, yeah, but that's what they want to hear. They've heard you before, but they want to hear the joke again. Does that make sense?
The first time I saw Bobby, I went back wanting to see the same stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, they're not going to hold it against you because you did a bunch of material they've already heard. Because they got somebody with them, they say, listen to this. This is really funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but television just it was like the old story with vaudeville. You know why vaudeville died? Because television came in, and these guys went on Sullivan and spun their plates, and that was their act. I mean, when they did vaudeville, they had 20 minutes. They came out.
I heard some of the comics in vaudeville had like 7 or 8, and did that for literally 20 years.
Yeah, went a whole circuit, all over the country, worked constantly doing the same exact act. And you're right, some of them were 10 minutes long. Some of them were 20 if you were a headliner, and that was it. But then they went on TV and they did this act once. That's it. So I mean, it killed vaudeville, absolutely killed vaudeville, which was a wonderful form of entertainment, by the way. I never.
What type of acts did they have on vaudeville besides the
They had everything. Okay, they had jugglers. They had people come out on unicycles. They had dancers. They had magicians. That's what was so great about vaudeville. Everybody had a 10-minute act, and they came out and did it. Maybe there were 10, 15 acts on a show, and everybody would come out and do their act. And you go, well, I don't like this, but I know that 10 minutes from now there's going to be another one I am going to like. So
it was similar to the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, the Ed Sullivan Show really was what vaudeville was. Okay. Because if you look at Sullivan, I mean, he follows Enrico Caruso, who Mario Lanza, okay, opera singer. Mario Lanza with Topo Gigio, followed by a bicycle act. And what he was doing was vaudeville. But it killed vaudeville because, do you then go back on the road and try this? Plus, vaudeville shows died out when that happened because television was doing them one better. So
yeah. Everything
becomes passé. Okay? You and I become passé. I become passé. I know that I am yesterday's cold meal sitting in the refrigerator. Really. So and you're still out there working, So
still working, but
but pretty soon you're the cold last night's cold dinner in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't make us look forward to anything, does it, Larry?
No, not at all.
God, whenever they listen to us, I wonder how many people just get depressed listening to us talk.
Yeah, maybe we're too realistic. I don't know. But.
Well, I just, as I get older, I find that, I'm way older than you. You're 67 now, I think?
Yeah. 68.
68. And I'm 82, so there's a difference of about 12 years there. Yeah. 14 years. 14. And I find at 82, I'm just completely irrelevant. Nobody. Marjorie and I were thinking of actually starting a podcast called "Nobody Wants to Listen to Old People."
That'd be good.
And because I just find every day that there's something else happening that just, I heard about when I was younger, but I didn't realize I would get to the point where I was going to actually be part of it, be part of the scheme. And is this making sense? I hope so.
Yeah. What's the oldest someone has worked in radio that was still kind of a big name?
God, I really don't know. I don't think it's anything past 80 for sure. And I think maybe, I worked till I was 75.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on radio, on some kind of form of radio. I've been doing the podcast ever since, but I don't consider that radio. So the oldest, probably me. Oh no!
Yeah.
Thanks for asking the question, Larry. I really appreciate it.
Did Paul Harvey do radio at?
Yeah, I think he was pretty old. I think he was in his 80s. Yeah, but he would go, "I'm Paul Harvey."
Yeah,
and then he would pause. Good day.
Yeah.
And I just thought that the day he died, he would go, "I'm Paul Harvey." Nothing. See, but I think he actually retired, if I'm not mistaken. But he died. He died at a very old age, and having done that show, I think into his 80s. So we probably just established who the oldest guy was in radio. Anyway, hey, listen, we better go here because we're running out of our allotted time. Talk to you next week.
Will.
Ladies and gentlemen, there he is, the lovely and attractive Larry Bubbles Brown.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And there was Bubs, and we'll see him again next week. We always like to have Bubs on, and that's the way it goes. Actually, I always forget that. I should be looking at this camera, because what I do is I have a tendency to look down at the picture that's on my screen. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know if it does or it doesn't. But anyway, I should be looking straight ahead right there, okay? But anyway, we have some people here, and they're a nice little crowd here that we've got set. And wait a minute, what is that? It's blurry because okay, Cobb's Comedy Club.
Emo Phillips.
Emo Phillips. Oh, okay.
Emo Phillips, Saturday, October 19th, 1991.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he was so funny. He had one line that almost fell off my seat. I'm going to butcher it up, but he says when his dog drinks out of the toilet, and it makes him laugh so much. He says, especially when I'm sitting on it. But his delivery, and remember his haircut? He said he cut his own hair.
Yeah.
And his hair was jacked
I'll
up.
tell you the strange
really
thing.
Oh my God.
Anybody here remember Emo Phillips at all? No, this doesn't look like a crowd though, but yeah, a little bit. Emo never had an apartment. Okay? And here was his thinking on it. I'm always on the road. So they put me up in nice hotels. So why shouldn't I just stay at the hotels? And he never really had his own apartment. He kept all his stuff at his manager's office. Really. And that was Emo. What movie did Emo Phillips produce?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Big hit.
Pee Wee Herman?
Huh?
Pee Wee Herman?
Nope. Meet the Parents.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Huh. Apparently he had the rights to the story or something like that, and so he wound up being one of the producers on Meet the Parents.
Huh.
Am I right about the name of that picture? It was the one with Robert De Niro, right?
Yeah.
And
I listened to the comedy, the Sirius XM. You know, they have all those comedy stations, so I have them all lined up.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, his stuff pops up. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Bob Rubens actually popped up a couple times lately.
Well, because he had an album or something like that out. Yep. Anyway, so good evening to all of you. Here's Jeff, and here's Josh, and here's Brian, and here's me. Okay, so I'm here as well. And I was checking out the video from last night, and it looked pretty damn good. I made some changes to the way I send it out, and I'm sending it out at less resolution but more bandwidth, and so it really looks good. So, and
How did I look?
Huh?
How did I look?
You look fine, but it's all about you, isn't it, Brian?
No, it was all dark. Remember, I was in my car.
I couldn't see you at all.
You looked the best you ever looked last night.
Thanks.
You couldn't have looked better. Anyway.
And actually, that was a nice drive because it's an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did it. I timed it just right. So I left right at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to hear, beginning of the show, and then when we came on, I just pulled over, and then because I didn't want to crash, so I pulled over, get to log on the show.
Wasn't Kevin amazing last night, though? He could actually tell by the amount of time that had passed what exit you were at.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Because he drove that a lot. Were you driving home? No, you were driving to the office is what you were doing.
Yeah, I worked there today, so I drove up there last night, spend the night, because then I can get an early start, and I'm not tired. Sometimes when I go on Fridays, I'll drive up there on Friday morning and then just really tired.
How long does it take you to get there? Apparently it took some time because you spent the whole show with us on that.
Yeah, about 1:45, an hour and 45 minutes. So
you're going from where to where?
From San Jose. From San Jose to Lodi.
Lodi.
Through Tracy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Through.
Yeah.
5 to 9. Through the pass there, the.
Ultimate Pass.
Pass.
But that's a nice. It looks nice when I'm coming home because all the mountains are green and you see the turbines. I know you say it's ugly, but
well, I just felt it was kind of an eyesore. You know, I mean, it was wonderful the first time you see it and you go, oh my God,
wow.
Doesn't that look terrific? You know, and then all of a sudden you realize that's really the big pieces of metal sitting up there on the hills, you know. And
those are pretty huge.
Yeah, they are pretty huge. And when there wasn't any wind, they seemed to be going around too. That one I couldn't figure out. Oh, everybody cheese it. Here comes Tony.
Oh, he's been chatting with me.
What?
He's been chatting today with me.
Oh, he's been chatting with you? Have you been pestering Brian?
No. I don't think he had coffee yet because he only sent me like 3 at a time.
I actually did.
Wait, what'd you say? What'd you say, Tony?
I did have a cup of coffee, yeah.
What, before you wrote him?
Yeah. I had one in the morning now.
Oh, I
half a cup.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even get this cup near the screen.
Oh, yeah, I got the same color, black.
Well, most cups are black, okay?
That is true, yeah. It's a little strong, this one they made, though. I don't like when they make it too strong.
Yeah. And we got Josh here. It's a good week for Josh to be here because a lot has happened in the news that I'm sure he would love to talk about. Yeah. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
You doing good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
I just wanted to see if you're okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah. A lot of news items happening today. You know, that probably, or the last couple of days, today especially, a Supreme Court nominee.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know anything about this woman?
Just a little bit. I mean, not a ton, but I know a little bit. And I was watching the PBS nightly news one time, maybe 10 days ago or so, and they ran like a little 7 or 8 minute little segment about her. They had kind of previewed like 4 or 5 main people that were up for the job maybe, and I happened to be just tuned into that night that she was on there, so there was some information on there, but I kind of knew a little bit about her before that, just a little bit.
Do you think it's a good choice?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's I don't think it's bad or anything. I mean, it seems fine. I mean, you don't know how any of this is going to go. I mean, it's just like any other job in the world. You can sort of think you know what you know, but till you get someone in there doing the job, you never know. But I mean, it's a good choice overall. I mean, I think that she seems like a really good, person. Just outside of the job. A pretty decent person, and I think that kind of. Obviously I think that matters. And I think that her judicial philosophy will be, pretty well received. In the past, she's had a couple looks at some cases that involved like executive power, and I liked what she had to say about some of that. She had that now sort of famous opinion, I don't know, a year or so ago in the Trump administration, where she put that line in there that, presidents are not kings. And, I obviously would agree. So some of her some of her judicial philosophy on, executive power is sort of that it's been a little expanded over the years, and it might be time to start scaling that back, which I agree with. Republicans used to be the party that didn't think presidents were kings, right?
Right.
And they've sort of strayed from that path. So I don't see where they can complain about something
they've really strayed from that path. Weren't they anti-autocracies?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
And now they're coming out and defending Putin for his actions?
Yeah, when it became, inconvenient for them, they certainly abandoned that ship pretty quickly. But yeah, she's had some looks at executive power in 2 or 3 high-profile cases, and in each time, she sort of came out strongly in favor of limiting executive power or forcing the executive to do something that a lot of people.
When you're talking about executive power, are you talking about executive political power?
Yeah, like the president of the United States. I mean, powers outside of those granted to them by the Constitution, or protections not granted to them by the Constitution, such as I don't have to turn over these documents because I'm the president of the United States and I'm special, and if I turn over these documents, that's not good for me, and it won't be good for all the future presidents. And, she came down on the side of, I'm sorry, but that's the way that it is. If it damages you or if it damages future presidents, that's the price of our democracy. That's the price of our separation of powers continuing to work as they were designed to do and as we need them to do.
I think she's got a good chance of being confirmed without much trouble.
Yeah, I don't think that anything like that.
I think the usual Republican suspects will be against her.
I'm sure.
Only because she's Biden's choice. If Trump had chosen the same exact person, they would have been all for it. Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, and look, I mean, in my opinion, I think that will be okay, and it should be. I mean, even if you had some issues with her, well, I mean, look, Trump was allowed his choices, and this is how it works. We had an election. Biden won. He's going to get his choice. And I honestly, I kind of like the fact, when you have a judge that you can find some disagreement with. I mean, big whoopee. That's how it's supposed to work.
What I thought was really interesting is she got out in front of somebody who would want to put something against her by saying that her uncle was in prison.
Yeah, she's got a family that's not, exactly, Upper East Side.
Yeah, but I mean, she brought it out on the speech, and she said, first thing I want to say is, yes, I do have an uncle who wound up in prison or is still in prison or whatever.
Yeah, she's never tried to hide any of that, right?
But what she did, though, was she blunted any argument about that, and I thought that was good. I thought that was terrific,
because it's not her fault. It doesn't have anything to do with her.
Yeah.
She's not in prison, so I mean, and took no part in any of those crimes. So, but you're right. I mean, they would still use things like that. So, but if you find some things with a judge on the Supreme Court that you don't like or agree with, that's okay. I don't think we want to. I don't like some of the language that it got, like Biden says she's a proven consensus builder. Well, I mean, I know why he's saying that, and that's political speak, but I'm not looking for a consensus builder on the Supreme Court, to make everyone get along.
You're looking for somebody who's going to
make decisions based on the law and is blind to the fact of whether or not it'll bring blacks and whites together or what the fuck ever, I mean, so that's why I can't stand that stuff. But I understand that he has to say that so that he can make it sound good for the people in this country that are, fucking stupid or whatever.
Well, I mean, also, I mean, it's kind of a shame that when you're president these days, you have to pick you don't necessarily pick the best person for the job. You pick the one who's going to have the best chance of getting passed by the Senate.
Yeah.
You know, in the old days, you went and tried to find the best person. Now, because there's such nastiness going on out there, you got to find somebody who's going to be pretty much acceptable to everybody. And that's not necessarily the best choice. Not that this woman isn't a good choice, but there may have been better choices, but they would have been more controversial.
Sure. Yeah, on that spectrum, I don't really know, exactly where she fits, but I would say it's somewhere in the area of someone that you could get like that. I think that she's pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so she's obviously qualified. She had very good education, good life experience. Has been a judge in the appeals circuit. And has experience with these cases. So she's very qualified, and then has a lot of those human factors that you look for in a job interview or whatever. So I don't think she's going to have any trouble. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm sure that there are going to be some people who.
Do you know that two of the nominees had something in common? They both their husbands are gastroenterologists.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not know that. No.
Yes.
Must be a popular profession or whatever.
Or something like that. But no, two of them. Yeah. I guess it was a qualification. Your husband must be a gastroenterologist.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that in the end that they've arrived at a good choice and at a solid candidate, and they should get some success. I don't necessarily know that I like the road that they took to get there, with promising that they would do this, that, and the other before any opening was even there. And then, like I said, some of the language they used when they introduced her and things, I just don't
but they did that.
It,
he did that. He did that. What I hated about it is he did that as a campaign promise. Doesn't mean that he shouldn't have gone ahead and done it. Okay. Yeah. But I think to make it a campaign promise is it's almost it's not an equal opportunity job, is it?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is so they arrived at the destination, and I don't particularly care for the route that they took, but they arrived at the destination, right? Mm-hmm. And the route they took wasn't, it's not like they did anything wrong or underhanded or illegal or so I guess it's nitpicking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. We're allowed to nitpick. Gives us something to do.
But I just don't think it was a good idea of him at that point to say it, but he did it because he was obviously trying to woo the black vote.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I like to say, I personally, I don't want to be told, here's your new Supreme Court justice, a real consensus builder. Like, it's a judge. Did you just nominate her to be the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development or something? To me, that's how you introduce the new Secretary of Commerce.
Right, consensus builder.
The
job of a judge is not
justice.
The job of a judge is not to make everybody happy.
Correct.
But
that's just how I look at it. But look, I get that I can say that, and I'm not introducing her to the nation. I'm not the president, so he's got things that he has to do to sort of sell this on the nightly news or whatever.
Yeah.
And make sure that it gets out of hand. He's just got to do what he's got to do for 6 weeks to get it done, and then they can move on.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that is. But I think she's a fine choice. There's I can't find any fault in it as of yet, right? I haven't seen anything to make me shake my head and say no. And I'm almost willing to accept people's choices as long as they're a qualified individual. So I haven't seen much. That's good though. I don't think we're going to run into any Brett Kavanaugh drama or anything, with this. And that's good. The nation, hopefully, for the first time in a while, can maybe nominate a Supreme Court justice that just gets nominated and placed onto the court, and we don't look like fucking idiots in the process.
Yeah.
You know, we don't embarrass ourselves to the world like we did the last couple times around. Because I thought the last few were, you know, a pretty sad series of events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's done this before, and it's like you're saying. I think it'd be more bang for the buck if, you know, he doesn't say that. Oh, I'm gonna have a black, you know, Supreme Court black Supreme Court justice, and say all that stuff ahead. Instead, when he announces it, you know, then there's the wow factor.
There's the wow factor, but
here's the first, you know.
But he said this while he was running for office, and he was wooing votes by saying it.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, but I don't even know that he needed to. I mean, I don't know that.
Well,
that
I
statement,
consider doing that,
you know,
kind of racist in a way, because he's thinking about. Well, he's thinking, hey, you know, if I nominate, say I'm going to nominate a black woman, those blacks out there are going to be stupid enough to vote for me based on that. And the fact is that blacks aren't that stupid. You know?
I mean, that's what I was just getting ready to say. Was I don't
This
know.
Oh, wait a minute.
Gavin,
Hold on a second.
The Great American Broadcast Network.
Hold on. I accidentally pressed a key here, and it started that going.
I mean, did that statement get anyone to vote for him or not vote for him that was already?
Well, I think that the concept that blacks are that stupid that they're not going to fall for that trick. You know, it's almost. I hate it when sometimes they do things to mollify Jews when they're running for office. And I go, do you really think I'm that stupid? I'm going to vote for you because you said, oh, I'm for the state of Israel. As a matter of fact, I don't like the state of Israel, and you just lost me. You know.
Right.
Now, if they said they like, if they like
what?
If they like a deli sandwich with a pickle, maybe you would have my vote. I mean, throw me a bone here.
Yeah.
I think also by him saying that is like, of all these people, I'm just telling everybody I'm looking at this group, you know, instead of at the end saying, hey, this is the person I picked that's the best person for this job.
Right. But you see, you know, had he just done it, he would have surprised everybody. They would have gone, oh, good choice, you know. Yeah. That's a terrific idea. But saying that I'm looking for a black woman, and then they show a panel of like 3 black women who are up for it, you know. And I'm going, no, just, you know, say I'm looking for the next Supreme Court justice, and I'll let you know when I figure out who it is. And then you come out and you say, hey, look who I found. And everybody goes, oh, hey, pick the first black woman ever to be chosen to be a Supreme Court justice. And you go, wow, that's wonderful. That's terrific. But no, all the juice has gone out of it because we know it's going to be historic, okay, ahead of time, and he doesn't win any points for it.
Yeah, it's disingenuous, really. It's almost like, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I think it. I mean, if you were black, I mean, none of us are black here. Anybody black here? No. Me, my name is Black Man. Schwarzman is Black Man. But no, it's not.
It's not. Oh,
I think my family were blacksmiths or something like that. Yeah. But anyway, Schwarzman. Anyway, so we're not black. But I think if I was black, I would have been a little upset by him trying to think he was going to get my vote just because he said that he, you know, that might have made me. He might have made me not vote for him. You know.
I don't know if he did that.
Huh?
I don't know if he really.
Oh, come on. He did it while he was running for office. He didn't do it like after he got the job and said, you know, I'm looking for a black woman for the job. You know.
Well, he did say it.
No, he said it when he was running. But not after the fact, not after you know, it would have been nicer if he had said, well, now that I won, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do about this Supreme Court justice. I'm looking to make it historic. And not even say a black woman. I'm going to make it historic. What?
They always want to, like, break the ceiling. Just run on what you stand for. Don't say it, you know? Come on, it's just tag.
Well, I mean, obviously Biden used it as a political, you know,
I agree.
political thing.
How else can you not say it's not?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But I don't want to sit around here knocking Biden because God knows the Republicans are doing a good enough job of that, you know. So we have to maintain a certain unanimity, even though the guy is kind of like, you know, asleep at the wheel. What do you think of how he's handling the Russia thing?
I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't really know what more.
By the way, we need some more people to call, okay?
You know, I don't know what more they're going to do there. I mean, they're really not going to be able to come up with anything solid, if you ask me, because I'm sure that there's no one on the panel, or really no one listening, probably, or even really any any Americans that are going to be okay with saying, okay, listen, we're going to send American troops to Ukraine. We're going to offload them. We're going to put them on the ground. We're going to move our warships over there. We're gonna get some planes.
No,
in the air.
we don't want to do.
Weapons.
Hey, that's called World War III.
Yeah,
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen. I mean, stopping something like this really should have taken place a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, but we had 4 years of a president who was allowing this guy to get away with bloody murder.
Well, I mean, and it goes back even further than that. I mean, you know, look, the first George W. Bush was friendly with him. Obama was just indifferent, you know, and then, you know, Trump basically allowed him time. You know, he was an appeaser. And Biden is just, I mean, he's just in a position where, I mean, we're not going to put people there, you know, and I mean, short of that, what really are you going to do? I mean, they're not going to do anything that is, you know, physical like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to leave them with some options that are decent enough, but it's not going to accomplish anything because Putin doesn't care. Okay. And I mean, you know, like I saw a headline earlier, now they've sanctioned Putin himself and his foreign minister and all that. And some of their bank, he doesn't, he's got all that worked out. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's all fake, if you ask me. I mean, none of that is going to make much difference. So, I mean, they're not going to, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I think it's fair to ask if we should help them much more, because I don't see a lot of Ukrainians that are saying we're not going to accept this. I mean, we're going to take to the streets and we're going to handle it. I mean, I'm not saying that some Ukrainians haven't, but I see a lot of them on you know, getting interviewed on television. And they're just kind of like, you know, this is really bad. I don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, well, if you really don't want the Russians there, then I guess you should fucking.
Well, if you're a male under 60, between like 18 and 60, you're required to stay in the country and fight.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many of them are actually going to fight or are fighting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there is a formula for defeating the Russians. It's only been used a few times and it's been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see it happen.
Yeah. Jack.
You know, personally.
Well, you said you were kind of short people, and so I'm going to use some of my notes that I was going to save for after the top of the hour. On the thing about Ukraine, the world community is doing the best thing. They're jacking with the money. They're saying we're going to cut off your ability to trade.
Mm-hmm.
They announced sanctions today against Putin and the guy that his Secretary of State.
You're wrong, Jack. You're wrong, Jack.
How am I wrong?
You're wrong because there are a lot of other countries that will still trade with him. China is going to still trade with him, which is one of the biggest trading partners you can have. I think India will continue to trade with him, which is one of the biggest trading partners you can have. He doesn't need us. And he doesn't need England, he doesn't need France, he doesn't need the Scandinavian countries. And by the way, you know...
Look, this country, there were entities in this country that continued to trade with Hitler during World War II.
No, well,
Ford Motor
after
Company-
the war went full board, they didn't.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, they did. IBM, for instance, built computers that allowed them to keep, or accounting systems that allowed them to keep the tabs on all the Jews.
Ford
you
kept
know.
its plants open.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, to expect you're going to get everybody on
Well,
board.
I think Ford they closed them down once we went fully to war because they couldn't
No,
do
they
it.
didn't. No, they didn't.
No, I think they weren't allowed to actually. You know.
Ford Motor Company in Europe, Ford Germany.
Well,
continued to operate.
different companies, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
different
still,
companies.
but still controlled by Henry.
But the IBM, which was an American company, gave Hitler all the accounting stuff he needed in order to keep tabs on how many Jews he had in concentration camps.
I guess what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah. No,
you
but
do what you can do.
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't think these sanctions really are bothering him in the least. What you're nodding your head, Brian, right? You agree?
Yeah, I agree. And when they say that they're going to freeze his money and all those other his number two guys' money,
the oligarchs,
all their monies are in companies, and they've, like I think Josh said, yeah, they've taken care of that stuff already.
And they've also got enough money where they can say, yeah, you can stop us from getting to some of our money, but you're not going to get us to stop from going to all of our money, and we got a shitload of money.
And it's all hidden, all in companies, and they're all their BFFs and everything else.
Do you know who the richest man in the world is?
It's him, Putin, right?
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll ask this question: if you were able to do it, what would you guys do?
I don't know. You know, I mean, one choice is World War III, so that's not a choice. Okay.
Oh, no,
And another choice is, I guess, doing some kind of sanctions, but I think I just don't know what I would do. That's why I'm not president. Okay.
I think I know what I would do.
What would you do, Tony?
I would send the troops there. I would have killed Hitler right off the bat before he attacked us. I think you gotta. How do we know he doesn't stop there? Say if he goes to Poland, he may be so brazen. You know what I say? What do we have the greatest military complex?
Do you want to start World War III?
I think you got to stop him.
Do you want to start World War III, in which the result of that is going to be far worse than what's going on right now?
But say if he takes over Ukraine and goes into Poland, and that's NATO, then you're going to be.
He's not going to go into Poland because it is NATO.
Know.
Because it is NATO, and then he has a whole bunch of whoop ass on his against him. We can't go into
Ukraine
because they're not NATO. And so if we go in there, we're going in there without the legal right to do so.
So then, pretty much, in that case, we're all dealing in a pretty much like he does have what you should be worried about is he has an allegiance with China. So if everybody would have,
he has a relationship with China. I won't say it's an allegiance.
But did we ever think that Germany wouldn't try to take over the world? What's to say that history doesn't repeat itself?
Well, I mean, I don't think that as big a country as Russia is, okay, that they're capable of taking over the whole world. That concept is ridiculous. They don't have enough manpower to take over the whole world. They don't have enough manpower to take over the United States. Am I right, Josh? You seem to be agreeing.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, Russians, have a large population, but their military strength compared to NATO is almost nothing. I mean, I think the Russian army is made up of about 300,000 people, if I heard correct, and NATO has about 3.5 million troops. Plus, they outnumber, as a whole, they outnumber the Russians. Yeah. Not only in manpower but in infrastructure, warships, planes, munitions, that kind of thing. The number's pretty large. So, these gains are pretty easy for the Russians, but they're not going to do anything large scale. I mean, unless we turn it into a world war. But I mean, like you're saying, I just don't see that coming.
For the Russians is, even if you win, how do you hold it? Do you really want to try to hold a country of 350 million people, half of which are in Texas and are armed to the fucking teeth? The guy that
Yeah, I mean, the Russians aren't. They're not coming here.
They're not stupid.
I mean, that's
this was a Cold War fear that was promulgated years ago that, oh, the Russians are going to come here and they're going to take over the country. To take over this country, you just don't have the assets to do it. You don't have the manpower to do it. Not in a country like this one, which would wholeheartedly resist that kind of thing. But nevertheless, I mean, the problem is that what is so horrible about what's happening in
Ukraine.
God, my mind's blank tonight on that name. What's happening today in the Ukraine that's so terrible is that Russia is being a bully, a deadly bully. Okay, there was no reason for them to go in like they have and try and bomb things, especially apartment houses, things that have no strategic value. All right, if you want to go after an air base or something, okay, that's logistically that's something to go after. But he's going after the general population, and this is abominable. It is it's horrible what he's doing. And somehow he has to be called to account for that. But how we do that, short of the United Nations, which has never had any major muscle, is ridiculous. Putin is playing a game of, I can do this and get away with it. And maybe he's right.
Well, if we're not going to do anything to help them, then we're just all watching the news.
Yeah, but what do you do, Tony? What do you do? Do you go in there?
Well, then you got to bring. If we feel that he's killing innocent people, then what's the solution?
Well, the solution is hopefully we have armed the people in the country. And why is my mind a blank on that name every time I mention it tonight?
Don't feel bad about it, man. It happens to us all.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just won't get out.
But we have armed them. They do have a lot of munitions, and they are fighting back, and they are bringing down jets, and they are killing a lot of the Russians, which is good.
Did you hear what the previous president did today in Ukraine?
Who?
He grabbed the guy that was the president before Zelensky or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He grabbed his AK-47 and went to the streets at 57 years old. He said, I'm here with my people. That's what it takes.
Well,
maybe what it takes is doing something that Putin doesn't understand.
Well, the guy who is currently the president says, I'm staying right here. I'm not going anywhere. And he said, this may be the last you see of me alive.
Said that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Or maybe we do something really wild. We say, okay, Ukraine, which I almost forgot how to say just a moment ago. Ukraine wants to be part of NATO. We'll give you Venezuela. Make Venezuela part of the Warsaw Pact. Let's do something bold, different, and dynamic. Something unexpected.
Make the Ukraine they can't. We can't do that. We can't make them part of NATO just like that.
We can say it even if we don't do it. Give Putin something to think about that he hasn't thought about.
Yeah, but okay, so you make him part of NATO, and now we take all the NATO troops and go in there, and it's World War III. I mean, there's no way. He's got us on a chessboard, and he's got us in check, so to speak.
Then maybe it's time to say to him, unless the leaders pay a cost in blood, this continues. Let's make the leaders shoot it out.
And where do we go? If we go in there and we push them out of there, and then they start pushing back and fighting against us, do we go into Russia? I'm sorry, Napoleon tried that and didn't do very well. Hitler tried that and didn't do very well.
I know I'm crazy. And it's time maybe for crazy solutions. Maybe it's time to say, World War III is unthinkable, but we can have some kind of war. And we go down the list of leadership in the government till we get to the two mothers that don't want to see their kids shot.
Okay, well, we can't go in there until they are part of NATO. We have no legal reason to go in there outside of saying we're compassionate people. We can't stand seeing people die, but that's not the reason you go into a war, unfortunately.
Well, the question I'm going to ask on my show, The Intersection, coming up in 20 minutes, is going to be this: where are the Borg when we really need them?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a terrible situation. I saw footage today of people with their kids, sending them off on trains, crying, fathers. I mean, it's heart-wrenching. And how a human being like Vladimir Putin can do this is beyond me. How it's horrible. It's just horrible.
Well, he's a product of the secret service of Russia. He's product of the KGB. I'm sure we've got some guys in the CIA who would think nothing of doing the same thing.
Well, we had the head of the CIA as a president.
Yeah. And nobody remembers that.
Yeah. Anybody name which president was a former head of the CIA?
Oh, Mr. Carter, I can.
Huh? Well, you can, but who else? Anybody? Josh, you can, right?
Of course you can.
Of course you can.
Was that Bush?
It was Bush.
Josh was probably a member of the CIA.
First Daddy Bush, yeah.
Oh.
Really?
Or as we call him down here in Texas, Pappy Bush.
Yeah, I mean, everybody used to say to me, how would you like somebody who's the head of the Russian Secret Service to become Prime Minister of Russia? And I said, well, we had the same thing happen here. Our president was a former head of the CIA.
And what's that Space Force that we started a couple of years ago under Trump? What are they doing while all this is going on?
Oh, they've got they printed up the stationery. I think some of them have business cards.
I was hoping maybe they had the Jewish laser beam.
Well, you remember who the head of Space Force was, don't you?
No, I don't remember.
Pence.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
I knew he did something.
Huh?
I knew he did something.
Best line of the night. I knew he did something.
I knew he did something.
On that note, I'll see you at the top of the hour.
Oh, really? Gonna leave me with just okay?
All right. Well, I'll stick around for a while. I'll stick around for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I got a couple things I got to do before
What?
I'll tell you. I got to go to the bathroom before I start the show. It's an old bladder.
Really? It's an old bladder? You know what to do? Take some ibuprofen before you go on the air. That's what I do, and that'll keep you from peeing.
Are you shitting me?
I'm not shitting you. It's a trick I've been using for years, especially when I had a bad prostate problem and I was doing a radio show at Sirius XM, and I didn't want to have to run off in the middle of an hour and go to the bathroom. So I found that by taking ibuprofen, it slows it up. Yeah.
Learn something new with Alex Bennett.
But on the other hand, ibuprofen can give you kidney stones, so don't take too much of it, because I got a kidney stone. You may all remember my kidney stone.
I remember your kidney, but more importantly, I remember my kidney stone.
You'll never forget your first kidney stone.
Never forget it.
No, thanks.
You go, what? Oh, you've had one too?
No. But my friend has them like every couple of years. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, I heard it's really painful.
Really?
My first wife's son, when he was 15, 16, had a kidney stone.
Well, here we go again, by the way. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, I said the kid was 15. The kid was 15. That's young. 15.
Yeah.
You know, these young. It was like something that happened.
You can get them at any age. I mean, it's
And he was in absolute misery, and I had one like the next year, and I said, "God, kid, I didn't know how much you were suffering till this thing tried to pass."
Well, what do you all think about the way Trump is handling himself? Is it, I can't believe he's so stupid as to think that people won't think badly of him. as a result of being pro-Putin. You know, I mean, he's come out and said, oh, he's a smart operator. He's smart. He's doing it right. You know, he's doing the right thing.
Gave the Democratic Party the best sound bite they could have for the coming election.
You know something? Trump isn't running for president. He's not going to get the nomination. Slowly, the Republican Party is getting sour on him. They're not doing it publicly, but they're getting sour on him. And when he's still got to get the nomination, and I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he may not even try. You know.
But you got to admit, it's a great soundbite against running against.
Yeah, but you know something? People for him probably are thinking, "Oh, look what we got! We got. Everybody, watch your language." We have. What's she whispering to you?
Tell him what you told me.
No.
He wants me to tuck her in bed.
She wants you to tuck her into bed.
She has early competition tomorrow in Dublin. That's like 45 minutes away. So she's got to get up early to do makeup and hair and all that stuff.
How long does it take you to tuck her in?
Just 2 seconds.
Go do it. Go do it. Be a good daddy.
Okay.
We'll be here when you get back.
Jack won't be, so bye, Jack.
Well, you can come join us on the intersection. I wouldn't mind having Brian drop by.
Well, he has to go to bed at some time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you know, he's the one here that's working, as is Josh. Josh has to. Well, he doesn't have to work tomorrow. That's why he does the show on Fridays. And Jeff's just an old guy. He sleeps whenever he wants to, right, Jeff?
I do.
And what is Tony Magno doing these days, other than sending me recipes?
Oh God!
I'm self-employed and I have books to sell tomorrow. List.
Ah.
Yes, and I'm buying a comic collection that I have over there that I'm gonna go through. So I have plenty of things.
You got any Plastic Man?
Actually, I don't know. I might. I don't know.
I loved Plastic Man when I was a kid.
Yeah, but from him it'll cost you a fortune.
I know. You know,
I mean, I have a box through that I'm buying.
But don't worry, I don't use those parts of my body anymore, so you can have them.
I got a lot of things all over.
Wasn't there the Plastic Man? Here we go. Here's the really heady discussion.
He had the glasses.
Yeah, well, Plastic Man was Marvel, right? DC. Okay, but Marvel had somebody who was like that.
They had a ripoff of him. I'm trying to think. Was it? I forgot what his name was.
Mr.
Fantastic, Reed Richards, was kind of like that because he stretched.
Yeah.
I always thought that they kind of took off of that a little bit. But I don't know who else.
Yeah.
I kind of vaguely remember that Marvel had a duplicate of Plastic Man in somebody.
Didn't both DC and Marvel kind of imitate each other with certain characters all the time?
I think Marvel was more revolutionary with their characters. I think with their because they were hitting more of the pop culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about who would be copying who. It'd be hard because Marvel had a lot of, at least as far as I see, like original characters. Like nobody had a Wolverine type.
Right.
You know.
Right.
That Wolverine was totally new. Like, you know, out of the blue. That was in the 70s. So I would say Wolverine is so unique. He is so popular. Forget it. That book just...
Wolverine? Why is Wolverine that popular?
Oh, because when he came out, I remember that. I have 2 copies of it, but that book's expensive. But I remember when it came out, it was just that the way they portrayed him, because he was like almost like a vigilante, stone cold killer. But his costume was cool. And then if you see the adamantium claws, how they click out. When I first read the comics, wow, this guy is cool looking. Like, you know, he just had a mysterious about him, and he would just kill you. And he couldn't die because he was like over 1,000 years old.
Really? He was that old?
Yeah, he was like, well, I should give you a comic.
In the movies, did they make him that old? No.
Well, he was mutant. He was put together. His origin is actually really cool.
Yeah.
You would enjoy his origin. They should actually. I don't think they might have portrayed it in the movie. I have to see which one. But
Yeah.
Tony needs his own show. Tony needs a show on here.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Just
do
give
it.
him some coffee and a couple comics, and he'd be fine.
No, what we should do is we should do a show with you, and then you can show comics to the audience.
I would enjoy, like, if you ask me stuff about comics, I enjoy talking about it. Like, I would pick you out something to read, Alex, that you would like. Like, I would send you books to read that you probably would enjoy.
By the way, this guy with his comic collection could probably buy and sell any of us. Am I right, Tony?
I'm not trying to brag because I bought him cheap. I have so much.
Yeah, but I mean,
I have so much I couldn't even. I have to leave my sister notes just in case I go. My brother knows what stuff is worth, but I would leave people stuff. I have stuff that I would leave people.
Did you have insurance? What happens if your place?
I do have insurance. Yeah, I went to Allstate. I had to put everything in a spreadsheet, Alex. It took me. I don't even have it all in. I only have what's in my personal inventory. I had to have everything itemized, and I had to take pictures of anything over $1,000 for the guy. It took me a while, so it's like a work in progress.
So did you come out with a worth? In other words, how much is the collection insured for?
And where do you live? Give me the apartment, the address.
I mean,
I'm not doing
I'm not
something
trying to
so
drop
nice.
a number, but it's an easy $250,000. I mean, that's a low ball. That's low because I'm not even dealing with.
I would say it's probably worth more. If you started going ahead and selling it all piece by
if
piece.
I told you, Alex, I'm going to give you this comic, but it only books for $500, but it's really worth $4,000.
Yeah, but I know that you have like 100 copies of one particular issue.
Yeah, well, a couple issues.
But you don't want to sell those. You wouldn't sell all 100 at once because then the price would keep going down on them.
Yeah, I always have a stash. I could bring you in right now like 10 spawns that I don't even have graded.
Yeah.
See, when Image Comics came out, I'm a big Todd McFarlane fan. I think he's so cool because he created Spawn, but Todd was smart, Alex. He goes, you know what?
Yeah.
He wanted to launch it in Marvel, but Marvel wanted to keep the rights. He says, no. That's my character. He says, you know what he said? I'm going to start my own comic label. So he pulled all the hot artists together, and they launched their own label, Image.
Right.
When Image came out and I heard about it, I told her, I said, you know what? Whatever he does, I'm going to buy the first
You're there.
issue,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get 100 copies of each. And I did that for all the big artists. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane.
Well, you see, this is a whole world I know very little about because I never was a big comic fan when I was a kid.
But I would like to pick out stuff that you would enjoy reading, though. You would like it if I gave you something to read. You probably.
I find comic books hard to read. Because
I'd have to give you a trade paperback where it would be one whole story. So you'd have to keep picking up an issue. So it begins and ends.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I would
guess.
do for you.
You know. But
Yeah, I blame my mother started.
were you ever a comic book fan, Josh? You know, right?
No.
No. See, I mean, he's far too serious for that.
He might
Tony.
like it, though, Josh.
Huh?
He might like it. I think Josh is more. Josh, you like the sports. You would read sports books, right? Stuff like that.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Hey, Tony, do you have any comic books featuring The Question?
Old Steve Ditko?
Yeah.
I
That's
might
my
have
man.
some. I love Ditko. I actually have a horror book. I've been buying his Charlatans. Ditko when he left Marvel. I'm a big Ditko fan. So whatever artwork he has, I could probably bring. Ditko, I'm a big. Anything he does on artwork, I collect like mad.
Yeah.
Like I have a big.
Do you know
Ditko
what I
fan.
did years ago? I think I told you this. I emceed the comic book awards show.
I know. I wish I
Stanley
could've-
asked me to MC
I would
it.
have did anything to go to that.
And the guy Bob Kane was there, and a young guy who was the new enfant terrible of comic books. I'm trying to remember his name now, but if I said his name, you'd probably jizz
I would
all
probably
over
wet
the
my
screen.
pants out.
Yeah, you probably
I would clean your house and cook for you for a month just to go to that show.
Oh, name some
And
big
your laundry.
some of the old, not the old ones.
Jack Kirby.
No, guys in the
I love Kirby.
this would be in the early 70s. Yeah.
Okay, so you got Kirby, Stanley, Jim Steranko,
No, this was a
No,
kid. He was a kid at the time.
Marvel Comics.
No, DC.
Okay, not it can't be George Perez yet because he started it with
no.
George Perez. He's
Oh well,
starting up.
yeah. Come up with some names and I'll tell you which one. I forgot his name now. But
John Byrne.
But he
No?
was the big deal at that point because he was now
Sal Buscemi.
no.
Tony, think of it this way. You know, that song about talking about my generation.
Yeah, you better go, Jack. You gotta.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
gotta
my
pee
God, look at
before the
that.
show.
Yeah.
Or
If I find that book, Jack, I'll send it to you, an image.
All right, listen. While you guys continue, I'm gonna go take a whiz, and I'll see you at the top of the hour.
Oh, good. And why don't we sign off now, and then he's gonna have to rush back from the bathroom. You know? If you can figure out how to sign out of Zoom, just.
Oh, I'm gonna get all upset.
Well, we'll be here all night now. Here he goes. I think he may have found it. I think. There we go. Okay.
Here he goes. We were here.
So, anybody up to anything interesting this weekend? How about you, Josh? Anything?
Not too much this weekend, no. We're traveling next week, so nothing major.
During the week or a weekend?
Middle of the week and then all through the weekend.
Oh, okay. So, he and I and a couple other people get together and have a call on Saturday nights with each other. So, I guess you won't be around for that one.
Probably tomorrow will be okay, but next weekend probably not.
Yeah.
We'll be out of state, so probably not.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it's a different kind of conversation. It goes anywhere we want it to go. But it's also, it has a certain freedom because people are not as refined about what they say because kind of they're afraid when it's being broadcast that they're going to say something wrong. You know. Well, here's something.
Where are you going, Josh? Where are you going?
We are going to Spartanburg, South Carolina.
And what is in Spartanburg? I bet it's something historical.
Well, yeah, we're staying there, but we're going to visit. We might visit Congaree National Park, which is one of the 62 national parks. But we're also going to visit Cowpens National Battlefield, 96 National Historic Site, and Kings Mountain National Battlefield. So, couple spots in the Southern Theater of the American
Now, what do you do when you go there? I mean, do you the tours of it, and they show you where certain parts of the battle took place? And
some of them have tours and some of them don't. These are pretty smaller sites and everything. So, just go to the visitor center. Sometimes they have orientation videos. They usually have like a driving tour you can take. You can visit certain parts of the.
There's a
battle.
place like Gettysburg, pretty much unchanged. I mean, or are there parking lots and malls?
No, they're all a little different. It depends where you go, but a lot of them are really well preserved. Like Gettysburg, for example, is not real, big time development or anything. Developed or anything, and they have really preserved, almost all of the battlefield at a place like that. And then, somewhere like where we're headed, they basically preserved all of the battlefield because it's not nearly as large a landmass as Gettysburg.
Wow.
Have you ever done one of those reenactments of the Civil War?
No, I don't do any of that. But, I have I've told you off air this, I finished another graduate degree for something, and I have to do, I have to complete another dissertation, which is going to be huge, and that's what I've been working on. That's what I'll be doing this weekend. But I believe a lot in trying to visit the places that you will substantially write about. And I'm going to cover the Southern Theater of the American Revolution. So I believe trying to visit places that you write about if it's possible.
Well, there's our theme song. And another week has come to an end. I want to thank Jeff for being here, and for Brian for being here, and Jack Bishop for being here, and Josh for being here, and Tony for giving us a lecture on comics. We'll see you all hopefully next week. So give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Okay, there they go, folks. Oh, there's my hand. Okay, there we go. And there goes our citizen panel for tonight. And Jack Bishop will be next with The Intersection. I have to do a few things here. Jack Bishop will be next with The Intersection over most of this same GabNet. So stay tuned for that, and maybe you want to join him. He uses Skype, and it's called GabNet Live is the address on Skype. In the meantime, I'm Alex Bennett. We'll see you again Monday for our big Monday show at 4 o'clock, and we broadcast that on Facebook. And then we'll see you again on Wednesday, 10:30, same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? And please, get vaccinated if you haven't been. Wear a mask if you didn't get vaccinated. And if you don't wear a mask, stay the hell away from me. I don't care what the CDC says. Good night, everybody. Bye.